My name is Anna Lollipop Sanchez. I've been dancing professionally for probably, we'll say, 35 years. I got lucky enough to be around a lot of the originators, which was very cool because I learned from the original guys that were creating it right in front of me. That's with locking, whacking, popping, done everything from movies to commercials to videos to live performances. Never did backup dancer except for maybe Tony Basil. But most of the time we were a featured act, opening acts for Tina Turner. But I've been very, very lucky in my timing with music, timing with dance, the timing of the exposure that we had because of the lockers, what they had opened up for us. I want to say in the beginning of '73, maybe even late '72, I saw the lockers, and when Tony came out, that was my turn of what I was going to do, because Tony came out, she was doing what they were doing, but then when she did her solo, she did her own thing. And she was very feminine, very strong, and I loved her for that, because I said, I want to do that now. But I want to do what all the guys are doing. But yeah, that was the big influence, seeing all the guys step out to be a star, first of all. They got to solo, then they got to go back and be in this group. And then the costumes. And they always opened. They weren't backup dancers. They were like the stars. So all that made me want that more. So that's how I got to get the locking. I went to each one. I was hanging out with each one of them. Camelot Jr., in heaven now, he actually is the one that broke me in and got the other guys to trust me, because he was flirting with my sister. So that was my way in there to get to know the lockers. And he started breaking stuff down, how to roll the wrist. This is how you dive off the stage, because I was always following him around. I dressed just like them in the beginning because I wanted to know what it felt like to wear their clothes, the baggy pants, the knickers, the suspenders, the flat shoes. I did all that because I wanted to know exactly what it was. Then the whacking started coming in because the whackers were entering straight contests, and they were gay. And it was Andrew, Arthur, and Tinker. And I freaked out just like I did with the lockers, because you see these group of guys that had their own little personalities. Once again, it was almost like the lockers but in a gay form, because they all had different styles, and there was one guy that did almost all of them. So it was kind of interesting in that way. But I crossed them because I just got done really learning the locking really, really good. And then I started to learn the whacking. So that's why my whacking and locking is influenced together, because they were so close together. I got really lucky because the musicality that whacking has, you have to have for the locking too, because you're not just hitting straight up beats, you're working the music and you're being a character. Well, that's the same with what whacking was. So then I got to meet the guys that were making up the whacking. That was Andrew, Arthur, Tinker, and Billy Star. And then I started hanging out with them. And they were such characters, and they went on the drama and the old movies and, all that stuff. Taught me all that. So from that, my love for locking went right into the whacking. So I still love them both, but whacking is the one that I have the most passion for, because it takes you on another level internally. Because I got to release a lot of emotions. As a kid, that's major. And whacking was like, at one point when it first came out, it was punkin. Because punkin is more the over-the-top. It's like a character cartoon, like when you do like Bugs Bunny and all that, everything's over the top and bigger than what it is. Well, the gays were being feminine, so it was very much over the top. So everything was like, really like, big like that. That's where punkin came. Then the whacking was the bigger stuff, where you actually whack your arms out and you're whacking and you're doing all these little tricksters and stuff, right? Whacking came a little bit after, because the gays were starting to compete in the straight contest. So they didn't want to be called punks, because that's how the name punkin came. They turned it around from a negative and made it work for them as a positive in the gay scene. So they're saying, oh, he's just a punk, saying you're gay. Well, they say, well, we're punkin, we're just punkin, we're punkin this, and we're punkin that, and we're doing that. So that's how punkin came out. Then whacking, they didn't want to be in the straight scene being punks. So they said, well, I'm more whack here, whack there. Well, let's just do that. It's called whacking. Well, whack here, whack there. It's bigger moves, they're stronger, a little bit more on the masculine end. So that's how whacking came. But the dance is actually whacking. Voguing is a totally different behavior. The voguers are runway. They're more, if you look at a runway model, they don't show a lot of expression. They keep things very simple and very to the point, right? Whackers are more getting a camera and saying, I'm going to take photos, just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep moving. That's the difference. Whackers are constantly doing that. Even when they pose for a second, then they're back into doing all that. Where the voguers are more, it's very to the point and everything's the same look. You know, whatever they're doing. It's a whole inner thing, foundation, elements, and then you learn all that, and then all of a sudden you're yourself. It's all about being yourself.